Today on sustainable change and I'm going to share my reflections. I sustaining a change more at a project level, but thinking about the organisation as well. Cool. Too far. A clinical audit cycle, or the model for improvement, or another improvement tool, a key aspect is implementing change. I understood when I'm taking a clinical audit cycle, it was important to re-audit and check for change. I didn't call my project an audit. It was merely data collection. So I completed the cycle. On audited, there wasn't much improvement, and I was puzzled as to why the method that seemed so sensible wasn't having the effect I wanted. The project team had agreed lots of actions to be taken, and I'd checked in with them regularly, with those involved to ensure that the actions had been completed. Surely this would lead to improvements. The model for improvement, light bulb moment. I could answer the first question, what are we trying to accomplish? I'll implement that new NICE guideline or standard. As second and third questions, how will we that change is an improvement and that will result in improvement? For improvement introduced me to the notion that I didn't know which actions were having an impact. The intention of doing everything in our grasp to implement that new standard, X, Y, or Z, but which changes were working. I had guidelines we're implementing were the right thing to do. That was the easy bit. What I couldn't answer was whether doing that specific action would lead to the intended outcome. Run hand in hand with the model for improvement and PDA cycles. They are tasks that track measurements over time. Clinical audit, the method of two fixed data points did not enable me to understand the trend that was occurring in between the two collections. Illustrated here, it's possible that the change isn't associated with an improvement. Oh, I've got. You can see on the left-hand side with two traditional clinical audits. You've got your data, initial data collection, and your data collection afterwards. There are three trends here. Some changes seen with movement and sometimes not. A sustaining improvement, you don't need to collect lots of data. What I realised is that you do need some. Averages are the aim, process measure, things that we think will lead to an improvement, and give a balancing measure. So when we've been looking at hospital-acquired pneumonia in our trust, we look at the prevalence of pneumonia, pressure, the bed head by 30 degrees, and then a balancing measure looking at whether we're going to have any unintended consequences, causing pressure ulcers. When data, I need to remember that the goal is improvement, not the measurement system. Data, but not perfection. Integrate into daily routine, little and often, that it wasn't too time-consuming, and it can check in regularly with how things are going. Real time means you know how things are going, and when it's happening, you can react. If possible, I had to introduce a change at a time to see whether the change was having an impact. This enabled me to see when that good idea turned out to be not so good. That I'd learned what not to do, and that's important too. Starting small, it didn't take a big amount of energy to see what worked for one patient, one or one ward. If it could be rolled out further. Measure, process and outcome would enable me to understand and articulate what was working or not working. This is thought of in the planning stages of projects. Framework and project approach we use at the Royal Berkshire encourage project teams to consider sustainability right at the start of projects. And in you'll see the template that we use here at the Rockshire, and you can see that sustainability is quite key to all our projects. Making engaging staff, aligning with goals and structures. We have the infrastructure, the credible evidence for making the change that we're wanting. We can be accountable, and we're continually monitoring progress. Shocking is here that when the survey was done, that 55% of employers felt change management initiatives met initial objectives, but only a quarter felt gains were sustained over time. We then have the improve approach that we use, and you can see here we've got sustainability featuring in our evaluation, but an important part of our projects and its measurement is risk investment. The organisation needs to be certain of value if it's to continue supporting projects. For sustainability involves a lot of talking to people. Do people see the need for improvement? Are people committed to driving change? Do people have the confidence, ability and skills to count what is required? Yes, built into objectives and appraisals can create new opportunities for learning, but people incentivised, do they see the benefit? People have self-interest and they need to see what's for them. Build where you can step away to see if systems are embedded or rely on individual people enables you to test stability. But be warned, there's danger in taking your eye off the ball and get the ball. Keep checking. These questions displayed here that I've often used to ask about sustainability. I've learned not to be afraid at saying it as it is and asking direct questions. People are honest with their views. The negative soon dissipates, and often much better to listen rather than talk. Of learning for me was quite how important communication is. You never really can communicate enough. This can be spread through newsletters, champions, Twitter, providing visual prompts for people. For example, get porters wearing T-shirts, or consistent images across documentation. Time creative thinking. Something didn't come easily to me, but there are tools to help you with that. Quality, the website has some really good examples. Of what we're looking to make better. If I answer the question of why we're doing something, then what's the point? I'm always conscious of the need to justify why you need to make the change, not just for change's sake, and make it meaningful. Focus on the negatives, what hasn't worked, that complaint or claim. This is our opportunity to celebrate the good things. Highlight benefits, improved safety and improved working lives. To change isn't enough. Yes, and where changes have been successfully piloted, but I've learned that to have the most impact you also need to make it personal. People need to connect with the story. I'm making people happy, both and staff. This stage means continually identifying and addressing negative ruts. Patient leaders working together with staff the experience, understanding the why. They keep the energy and enthusiasm. New collaboration with patient leaders can make it feel different, and staff, it's going to be different this time. Focused approach and targeted interventions, we can work smarter. Behaviour is part of driving change. Habits for negativity, don't ignore it, address it, get rid of it and move on, creating positive ways of working. Focus on achievements helps keep up momentum. A little recognition goes a long way. A high of a grade 3 or 4 pressure ulcer, the most reduced length of stay, or completion of care bundles. Whatever method, focus focus on the achievements. 5, sharing the load and spreading communications by developing networks. Your champions. Think about the role of networks are a fantastic way of getting support, sharing and learning, and keeping energy going, sustaining us as individuals as the work that we do within organisations. Quality Improvement and Clinical Audit Network brings together 15 regional clinical audit and effectiveness networks from across England, privileges for staff in these areas, health and social care organisations. NCAN supports the development of regional networks, national audit, as well as engaging influence and being a point of contact for key organisations such as HQIP. You can by email, here, and on Twitter at NQICAN. Audit networks. Hopefully several of you are regional networks, but if not, please do get involved. There are 15 networks that you can see here, and working in clinical audit, aiming to improve care for NHS patients and also care for organisations such as hospices. While the network operates slightly differently, they cover similar topics such as clinical audit, effectiveness, quality improvement and governance. The network brings together people to share good practice, provide peer support and influence contribute to the national quality agenda. We'll be having our website, NQICAN website will be launched at the HQIP conference. Easier for people to get in contact. Works and what is continuing to work. What is a clear vision and purpose is imperative. Change will not happen without people, and relationships and behaviours are key. The organisational commitment, leadership and finance must be there if the project is going to be sustained. These be built in from the start. If we can make change happen. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions? Thank you for discussion.
Much. That was really great. We have a couple of questions. One from Pauline, who says, you mentioned a website on the communications slide. That must have been earlier. She wants to know which website that was.
NHS Improving Quality. Yes, some of the resources are still on the old. So it was the NHS Institute for Innovation and Improvement that organisations now ceased. We've got a new organisation called NHS Improving Quality. On the website, you can still access a lot of the tools, but I believe that NHS Improving Quality are trying to put the tools up on their website. But there's some simple ways of just helping people think creatively, and it's something that certainly hasn't come naturally to me. So they've been really useful tools.
That's great. Oh, thanks. Sam has just been able to put the website up there now.
Brilliant.
You can see it on the side. That's great. I've got another question. You talk about measuring little and often.
Yeah.
Is an ideal benchmark about how regularly that is actually?
What change you're wanting to introduce. I mean, it may be depending if you're literally sort of once a day that you go and look at a measure, or once a week, but certainly little and often. I think you'd be checking in on a weekly basis. But it tells you, so I'm not talking about huge numbers. It may well be that you're only collecting data on a handful, so sort of half a dozen pages. Just really checking in to see whether the change you're introducing is actually having an impact or not. So we focus our work rather than thinking when we do an action plan, let's do 50 things that we all think is going to make an improvement, that you actually do make a change at a time and see whether that change is having an impact. So you can do more of the things that have the impact and less of the things that don't. But huge amounts of data.
You can do a snapshot audit, a rapid, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes,
and when you're doing your clinical audit, you identify where you're meeting standards or not meeting standards, and pick areas that where you're not meeting your standards, and then do your improvement activities and your measurements around them. So you're not continuing to every single audit standard. You're focusing on where you're driving the improvements.
Another question. I was really pleased to see you had a slide about having some patient leaders. And Jenny has also a question here saying, how easy have you found it to get patients involved, and what were the main barriers, and how to break down those barriers?
So we've started, in the last year, we've started recruiting patient leaders, which is at the Royal Berkshire. This is going a 7-day modular program for patient leaders. It's a voluntary role, but we do take patient leaders through quite a recruitment process, so we can make sure that their values and behaviours are consistent with what we're trying to achieve. We're looking for people who are able to work to support the strategic direction of the organisation and truly work in collaboration with us. So putting a challenge, but in a healthy way, and we can convey the patient's point of view. So being that sort of conduit between staff and managers, clinicians and patients. So bringing that voice into the room, but not afraid to articulate. In terms of recruiting, we advertise on NHS jobs, so somewhere that not naturally patients or volunteers would necessarily come up. So we've got a series of posters that we've shared with our local GP practices, big organisations. So far we've managed to find that we've recruited 12 patient leaders so far this year and are looking to continue that. And it's really quite visible, the difference where you're focusing on the right patient leaders, the energy and enthusiasm and skills that they can bring. So we've got people who used to be head teachers, people who've worked in social services, organisations, financial organisations, business consultants, and also all ages. We've got some youngsters in there as well, so people who are going off to medical school. Really, actually, surprisingly, have at recruiting those individuals.
I think also to get patients who have got the real life experience as well, especially when it's about particular projects, and they've got relevant experience of that area. I think you can get patient stories to really champion a project.
I think bringing that human, we all connect with stories, and so if you actually got a patient in front of you who can say how they would like to be treated. So, for example, we're kicking off the Hello, My Name Is campaign. That was driven by a patient leader who had a poor experience of not staff's names. So that has really been the driving force. Has gone to talk to our board, get them on board, and it's really been a key driver. And it's so much more powerful when you've got staff in a real story.
Dr. Kate Granger, coming to our conference actually next week. So she's got a presentation. I think it's Monday afternoon. To hear from her there at the conference. Question. What are the questions? Do you encounter any barriers when? We just said that one. Where are we going? Would you say networks are good places for staff new to clinical audit to learn the tricks of the trade?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Have script yourself at pretty much every network meeting. And learned at the networks is that training needs to be a key part in order to get people to attend. So we do build in. Each regional network has their own, and they operate slightly differently. but a key aspect of all of the regional networks is that training. And it's an opportunity. Working in clinical audit and quality improvement can be quite isolating. It's a really good opportunity for you to meet others that are in similar situations, might have come across similar problems, but learn new skills.
I think our patient conversation earlier has raised another couple of questions, Kat. Hancock has asked about the good representation in patient groups, but I think you said that you do get some youngsters, some medical students involved, don't you?
We're quite mindful of making sure that the people that we recruit, patient leaders, do represent the society that we serve. So having people with experience of particular diseases or conditions, and sometimes people might not necessarily have had that experience directly, which is why we've not restricted patient leaders to those that have accessed our services directly. We're all going to come into contact with the NHS at some point, and we all know how we'd like to be treated. So we don't require that people have actually accessed our services. Most of the users that we've got have had a relative or somebody in contact with a hospital, but it's not a central requirement. And I think that was quite key for us, that we didn't put that barrier in place.
And following on from that, have you had any issues with regard to information governance when you get patients involved?
So taken through, even though they're volunteers, they're taken through the same process, recruitment process. So they do all of the same mandatory training that our staff would be, and they are required to do same contracts in terms of information governance. So we haven't had that problem. I think partly because we're focusing on getting the right people, and a rigorous recruitment process, training program in place. That, as I said, it's a 7-day modular program that looks at leadership, quality, and the ways of working in the organisation. That haven't found that to be a problem.
So answers Amy's question, where she was asking how do you train the patients in clinical audit, but you've just said so it's a week-long modular program. So
patient leaders, it's a modular program that focuses a lot on leadership in there as well. So thinking about the impact that they can have themselves and working with others. And as part of that, we have a day talking about quality, the concepts of quality, assurance, quality improvement. How do you understand problems? It's at quite a high level, and we found at that stage, when they're new into the organisation, it's too much for them to learn the detail about clinical audit methodologies, the model for improvement. So we invite them back to do 2 days of half training, quality improvement methods. Later, once they've got to know the organisation a bit. Some of our patient leaders have been working with the NHS, understand it, and can go straight in and do that training. Some of them want to spend a little bit of time getting to know the organisation before they start leading their own quality improvement projects. And certainly that's a place we'd like to get to, that patient leaders can really actively contribute and work with us in collaboration. It's okay for us to be, for them to be leading projects and us working together. So we're all members of the team.
The training, do you explain the model for improvement, and is it the same way you explain it to clinicians as well?
We do go through the model for improvement, yes. So that patient leaders are in many ways advocates of quality for us. They get it into different parts of the organisation. They are championing the work that we're doing in terms of quality improvement. So yes, they do learn the model for improvement, the importance of measurement, and that if you can't demonstrate your outcomes and articulate what change is having effect, that question in. So I have known our patient leaders to say, why are you not measuring that? How do you know that's an improvement if you've got no measurement? So absolutely, yes, we do give them the same training that goes to clinicians, goes to our patient leaders.
Engage people in the whole idea of audit and quality improvement.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. What we're seeing is that doing more that continuous data collection that's a bit more dynamic is energising and engaging people, because they can see change happening in front of them and can see the impact of their changes. So moving away from, I'm a great supporter of clinical audit, but it's moving away from traditional clinical audit, where you're sitting at a desk in a sort of room somewhere, collecting a load of data from and then developing an action plan, coming back later and re-auditing from notes. Actually can make it more dynamic, getting out there, talking to people, seeing how change is having an impact, and we can make changes in a timely way, and that is engaging staff and patients more.
Kat. Final question about the networks. Are they open to primary, tertiary care or private organisations as well?
If staff are providing, working in clinical audit and quality improvement, they are providing care to social care, yes, so whether that's primary care, tertiary care, yes, absolutely, that's what the networks are there for. If we're looking at quality improvement and clinical audit.
And organisations as well?
So we have got some hospices and private organisations in some of the regional networks. We do voluntary organisations. So there's a real range. What we need to remember is the sort of purpose of why we're there, and that's to improve and learning around clinical audit and quality improvement. So if people have that as their goal, then they can come along the network.
Thank you so much. It was a great presentation today, and I think we've had a really good week of it all, actually, and I'd like to end on a positive note and talking about patient leaders and things like that. I think it's brilliant. Tonight we'll be continuing the discussion on Twitter between 6:30 and 7. And will you be able to join us?
I will.
So if you have any more questions for Kat, you can put them on Twitter, #ClinicalAudit. A really good week, and it's been brilliant to see the photos of other people having their clinical audit break on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Our conference is coming up on the 3rd and 4th of November. And to see highlights, we'll be tweeting all the highlights and keep on our website. Thanks again. It's been brilliant today. And we'll see you in the 30 to 7 o'clock clinical audit, #ClinicalAudit Twitter chat.